One brother built the machine. He died before it ever touched a pill. Empire of Pain by Radden Keefe. Audiobook summary and review by StoryShots. A family gave the world Valium, then OxyContin, then spent billions making sure their names stayed on museum walls instead of court dockets. That is the real story behind Empire of Pain, The Secret History of the Sackler Dynasty by Radden Keefe, a book that treats the opioid crisis not as a tragedy that happened, but as a business plan that worked exactly as designed. The myth of the blameless businessman. Most people assume the opioid crisis was a medical failure. Doctors overprescribed, patients got hooked. Nobody meant for it to happen. Before OxyContin hit the market in 1996, America did not have an opioid crisis. After it, the country did. That is not correlation. That is causation, documented in memos and sales bonuses built on a statistic reps repeated with no data behind it. Addiction risk under 1%. The family behind it did not stumble into catastrophe. They built a sales force, trained it to minimize risk, then pointed at the addicted as the ones to blame. The drug did not sell itself. A story about who deserved the blame sold it. The sales force worked because doctors were listening, and the reason doctors listened goes deeper than good marketing. How money buys medical trust. A single $20 meal can change how a physician prescribes. That finding is documented, and the company understood it decades before studies confirmed it. It funded pain conferences, bankrolled advocacy groups, and paid prominent doctors to vouch for the drug's safety in journals it influenced. None of this was hidden particularly well. It was simply how the system worked, and still works. Money moves science, science moves doctors, doctors move prescriptions. The same family running this machine had already used a version of it once before, with a different drug under a different name. Money doesn't corrupt medicine from the outside. It gets invited in through the front door. That earlier drug, and the man who marketed it, explains everything that came after. The ad man who invented the Playbook. He never sold a single pill of the drug that made his family infamous. He died a decade before it existed. But he built the machine his younger brothers loaded with it. He pioneered advertising medicine directly to doctors, and he personally coined the term broad spectrum for an antibiotic campaign, a phrase now baked into medical language itself. His playbook? Develop a drug, fund the studies that praised it, publish those studies in journals he controlled, then place friendly stories in the press. That is not a metaphor for corruption. It is a literal description of how the next generation later sold their most infamous product. The most dangerous machine in this story wasn't a chemical formula. It was one family's control over the truth about medicine itself. If this made you rethink how much you trust the people selling you medicine, someone in your life who works in healthcare or has watched a loved one struggle with prescription drugs would probably want this summary too. Final summary. This summary of Empire of Pain threads together one family's advertising playbook, its paid doctor pipeline, and the blame the victim defense that followed, showing how 3 generations engineered both a fortune and a catastrophe. Left untouched here, the FDA official who joined the company payroll within a year of approving its biggest drug, the factory explosion tied to the family's opioid research, and the bankruptcy maneuver that let billions stay in private hands while lawsuits piled up. Radden Keefe spent years reconstructing depositions and leaked emails to answer the question this trailer only opens: how a family engineers its own escape from consequences. We're putting together the full summary of Empire of Pain right now, with an infographic and animated video. Follow the book in the StoryShots app to get it the moment it's ready.